Well, thank you everyone for coming. I'm not like Judy having a whole long prepared speech here for us apparently, I just saw, but today really is about celebrating the life of my dad. As you guys knew, he was Dr. Bill. To my girls, he was Papa. One of the things with him and his dad was really talking about why he would live on this island, and for him, as he put it, was he'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond on the mainland, where over here you could make an impact that could really be felt, and that's what we're here to celebrate today, the impact that he had in every aspect here with everybody on the island and beyond. So we'll lead it off with his sister Judy. Come on up. Again, I told you I would not be as long as you.
I apologize, mine's long. So bear with me, but it's a glorious day today to celebrate the life of William Walter Bushing, better known as Bill. He was my older brother, my only brother, and all of you are fortunate to know Bill as an adult, or Bill as Dad, Papa, Uncle Bill, or brother-in-law. Or maybe to you, he was your friend, a Harvard classmate, a teacher, a scuba diver, a marine biologist, or Bill the dive dry with Dr. Bill columnist. As a friend said to me when Bill passed, when someone you lose becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Well, bear with me, as I have many treasures to share so you can get to know Bill from his childhood years. I'll try to read fast. Bill and I were siblings. He was a part of my life for 70 years, more than anybody. Bill was born in Oak Park, Illinois, and he had just turned 4 when I was born. We were still very young when our family moved from Oak Park to live near Jacksonville, Florida. My mom would take Bill, my older sister Bonnie, and I to the beach often, as it was just a short walk from our house. Maybe that's where Bill got to start loving the ocean and its wonders. We'd spend hours on the beach, playing in the sand, collecting shells, swimming, and getting sunburned. But the best memories there would be of Bill catching sand crabs with ice cream sherbet plastic lids. Those of you who are old like me remember those. And Bill would dangle them, and the crabs would hold on with their pinchers, and he'd dangle them so that my sister Bonnie and I could watch them wiggling to get free. School days, my sister and I would sit on the stoop and wait for Bill to get off the school bus. And I also remember a very scary night. Our parents were out of town, so our grandmother came from Illinois to babysit us. The winds were howling, the water was seeping in under the front door and through the windows from a hurricane that was heading up the coast. I remember Bill bravely, I was so young, but I vividly remember Bill bravely running around the living room with my grandmother, and both had towels, and they were sopping up the water, seeping in the front door and through the windows. It's amazing what we remember when we're so young. We moved to Northbrook, Illinois when Bill was about 7, and Bill was the lucky one to have his own bedroom. And that's where my dad would read the 3 of us at the time, bedtime stories. Bill would hang over my dad's shoulder, wrapping his arms around my dad's neck, while I, as the youngest, got to sit in my dad's lap. The neighborhood we moved to proved to be the perfect place to raise kids, as there were so many our age. Our elementary school was a short walk away, and Bill would often walk us into town with our quarters to buy penny and nickel candy at the local Ben Franklin. All the neighborhood kids played outside together. We caught fireflies and had many block parties. It was such a close-knit group. But what I remember most about those elementary years, besides my brother's toothless smiles, his buzz cuts, and of course his famous fangs, yeah, see, you guys remember that, are the many times when I was my brother's shadow. I mean, who else was going to follow him into the shin-high, rarely mowed fields adjacent to our elementary school? We would plow through the tall grass and weeds, hunting for garter snakes and mice. We brought our pets home to live outside in cages. Bill would hand me the snakes and let them slither up and down my arms. We weren't allowed to have normal pets like dogs or cats, because apparently my mom, according to Bill, had a bad experience with our only dog, Remus. But we had pet rabbits, but they proved to be too messy. Our pet ducks lived in a box on our porch, but they mysteriously disappeared. Bill later told us the ducks had been served for dinner one night. all because they quacked too loudly in the night. Bill and I also ventured over to the nearby creek to find turtles and crayfish, but we couldn't provide a better home for them, so we always left them at the creek. But what fun we had exploring and wading in the shallow waters together. My parents and the adults in the neighborhood would annually have a summer lobster cookout, and the kids hung around playing, hoping for a taste of lobster. Well, this eventually led to lobster dinners at home. My dad would have us kids race our lobsters on the kitchen floor before they were dumped into the pot of boiling water. I didn't know that was so cruel back then, but it was. Many a summer dinner was spent around the big round table on the screen porch where we rushed through dinner to get Bill to his Little League games, not his passion, but my dad's. Then there was summer swim team. Bill was the star butterfly swimmer, but also swam backstroke. I was just the little sister who joined the swim team at age 7 because of Big Brother Bill. I swam breaststroke, but also swam some butterfly competition because Bill made it look so easy. Right. We vacationed in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin every summer, always during swim team finals, and Dad would drive us to the swim meet an hour each way with the top down on the convertible. It was in Lake Geneva that our family had its first encounter with the Wrigley family. My dad and our good friends had rented a boat for water skiing. It just so happened to break down right in front of what I would call a mansion with a rolling lawn. It was beautiful. Bill swam to shore and went up to the door to ask for help, and it just happened to be the Wrigley summer home. Little did we know that Bill would end up living on Catalina Island and having Packy and the Wrigley family become such a huge part of his life here. Oh, the snow used to fall and pile up so deep in Northbrook. Bill, being the only son, had to shovel the drive, but he piled the snow so deep on each end of the driveway that we could make forts and tunnels and engage in the best snowball fights. We also had access to a huge ice skating rink a short walk from our home, and Bill and I would walk over after school and practice until dinner time. We competed in many races on that rink. You might be getting the idea that Bill and I shared a love for many of the same activities, except for scuba diving. Not me. Okay. My parents joined Valley Low Sports Club at Glenview, Illinois, and my brother was a lifeguard there. I was the only one sailing our boat, racing my friends around the lake. Though he was mainly responsible for the beach area and the swimmers, I know he also watched out for me on the lake as I deliberately tipped over my sailboat for the thrill of it. I would then right the boat and sail on my way, but I'd make sure he was watching me. I remember the day Bill sat on his pocket knife, and my older sister and I just giggled, though it probably wasn't very funny, as the knife had pierced his butt. My dad reprimanded us and sent us upstairs to our room so that he could remove the knife without the watchful eyes of Bill's sisters. But our bedroom walk-in closet had a small window overlooking the patio, so we stood up on a chair, opened the window, and giggled as we watched the whole scenario anyway. My brother loved his Lionel train set. In our creepy basement, he had a ping-pong-sized table where he laid tracks widening for a village in the mountains. Using his remote, he'd run the train for what seemed like hours, and under his watchful eye, I'd get my chance to be the engineer, but I could never touch his train, never. On the occasional breakdown of the train, he always knew just how to repair the problem. We had a mutual love for that train and our time spent together. Bill also collected butterfly and beetle specimens and carefully mounted them on pins in display boxes. Each was carefully labeled, and he would spend time telling me about this butterfly and that beetle, but the monarch butterfly was always my favorite. Bill was a gentle older brother of eventually 3 sisters. He never roughhoused with us, fought, or argued. He needed a brother. Other than elementary school, we were never in junior high or high school at the same time, but Bill was my good-looking, lean and trim, muscular older brother. He was the firstborn and took more than his share of the brains. We had to follow in his footsteps. He was so intelligent. He was a science guy. He was a trombone player. Oh, those many practice sessions where we had to cover our ears. He was a little nerdy, but he was my brother. In high school, he had this good friend named Tom that became a part of our family. And then there was this girlfriend named Leslie. She was petite, pretty little thing. And we were all sure that they would marry someday. I can only imagine what a different life he would have led. I graduated from junior high as Bill graduated from high school. He graduated as the valedictorian and was off to Harvard of 1965, and we were not allowed to attend college in Illinois. My parents thought it was a great learning experience to choose an out-of-state college to expand our horizons. Well, it kind of backfired on our parents and our family because not one of us returned back to Illinois. Bill graduated from Harvard the same day I graduated high school. He went to teach and live on some island that I had never heard of. My older sister was at Northern Michigan University. I chose Michigan State, while younger sister Nancy eventually chose Clemson. Our family was scattered in different directions. The day he went to Harvard began the physical separation of our family. Family gathering time was difficult, but I clearly remember one last big Christmas together with our grandparents. Uncle Bill spent Christmas Eve putting together toys and a bike for his one niece at the time while drinking Drambuie with my parents. Bill eventually became an uncle to 8 and made a point to travel for holidays, graduations, and even some of the weddings. Bill was very frugal, as you know, but he also faithfully sent each of the nieces and nephews a small check for Christmas. My first visit to this beautiful island was not until 1979. I was a teacher, married, and living a more normal life. I remember being flabbergasted at the way Bill lived. I think it was in yours, Chuck. In Chuck's house, in a room, his mattress covered the whole floor, and my mom and I are going, we just shook our head, we couldn't believe it. But Bill was living his dream, and material things were unimportant. Almost done. Bill's cancer diagnosis was a shock to all of us. My sister Kevin and I all visited the island to help. Of course, being a golfer, I had so much fun driving his golf cart around the island, running errands for him. Many family members traveled for his Poseidon Award presentation, though I'm sure you remember he was too ill to really enjoy that celebration. Many times we thought the end was near, but he'd rally and keep moving forward with an intense determination to beat this disease. I know that I was in denial. I think the biggest thrill for us was that he was able to dive again, fulfilling a wish he had, though it was short-lived. Bill was able to attend my older son's wedding a few years ago, allowing us to gather one final time as a family. When the pandemic hit, travel to see Bill was halted. We were robbed of those last precious years with him, but we kept in touch and we spoke on the phone often, learned how to Zoom and video chat, and our family emails were frequent. I do miss hearing his voicemail messages. Blub, blub, blub. You all became his family. You all were key contributors to his happiness living on his island and his many adventures right here at the dive park. Aren't we near his parking spot right here? Oh, it's over there. Okay. Can't remember, but I've been there. I know he touched many lives, and I'm grateful to all of you for your role in his life. Today, on what would have been his 75th birthday, we gathered to celebrate Bill's life and share our memories. I can only hope that Bill continues to find happiness, reunited with our grandparents and parents, playing gin rummy 31 in solitaire while drinking Malteds, cheering for his home teams, the Cubs and the Bears, and of course, I hope he finds the mermaid of his dreams. Rest in peace, Brother Bill. You're home with family once again.
Thank you, Judy. No, it's good that you had that written down, because as you're going through that, there's so many things that I thought that I didn't say, but I guess it's good I did it, because then everybody would be hearing it twice. Well, here's other sister Nancy.
Oh boy. Well, thank you all for coming out today to help us celebrate my brother Bill. Bill was, as Judy said, Bill was the oldest of the 4 children in our family. He was my hero. There was a family of 5 until I came along 8.5 years after Judy. Bill was almost 13 years older than I am, but we were very close when I was growing up. He went to college when I was 5, and when he would come home from Harvard, I was beyond ecstatic. He wasn't so happy because Mom would always cut his hair before he could go anywhere. Bill the rebel. Every time we left each other, we would cry, always. I begged him to stop growing up so we could get married when I got older. Bill was a protective big brother, except for the time he wasn't watching me and I almost drowned. He was the head lifeguard at Valley Low, where our family had a membership. I was so excited about showing my idol how well I could float. He took me to the lake and floated out and out and out. When I looked up to try to find Bill so I could bask in his astonishment about how well I could float for a 3-year-old, he was making out with his girlfriend on the beach, not paying any attention him to me. I vividly remember rolling over, seeing the sky, and then the water, the sky, and then the water. He finally realized what was happening and came out and saved me, but I teased him about it till the end. Mom and Dad would let me bring a couple of beers to Ravinia, the concert venue we loved, even though I was underage. One time, Mom had told me to ask Bill to get me beer because she was busy, which he wouldn't do until he heard it from Mom herself. Things were different, a little more lenient for me being the youngest. He was the smartest of the four of us, valedictorian of his high school class, as Judy said, so we had a lot to live up to. When he graduated from Harvard with honors with a double major in math and biology, two subjects I struggle with, he told our dad that he could have done better if he had opened a book. Good thing our other sister flunked out of college so Judy and I could keep our heads up with decent grades. He drove me back to Clemson one year in his white pickup truck. He wanted to stay in a super cheap motel. Really, he wanted to stay in the truck. But Mom and Dad were paying, so I insisted on an upgrade. He always was very frugal, as Judy said too. We stayed at a Holiday Inn for the $39 special. He got a kick out of my friends and loved Clemson football. He also kept up with Harvard, of course, Michigan State for Judy, Yale, and De Beers. He told everyone who would listen that George Hallis, the former owner of the Chicago Bears, was married to our grandfather's sister. When Santa put together toys on Christmas Eve, he and Mrs. Claus would drink Drambuie. We think alike, I guess. Elf Bill joined them one year and was very hungover the next morning. He was not much of a drinker, and there were lots of toys to put together that year. When he found out he might have a son, he was happy, apprehensive, and probably a little bit afraid. But he loved Kevin and the family he created. Being Papa Bill to Allie, Aaron, and Bree gave him so much joy. I still remember the excitement in his voice when he first told me about Kevin, and then told me, shh, nobody else knows. When Mom passed, Bill, Judy, and I were at her condo cleaning out her treasures. I guess that's where Bill got it from. There was a pile of trash bags by the door, so I took them out. A little while later, Bill asked where the black trash bag was. Needless to say, he did some dumpster diving that evening in search of our family photos that he put in the black trash bag. I went to Australia and New Zealand for a month after Mom died. Bill told me that I had to go to the Great Barrier Reef. My friend that I traveled with wanted to dive there, even though it meant another round-trip flight and 2 nights in another hotel. We got on the boat and she decided she'd rather read than dive. I decided I'd better dive for Bill, so I got the fishbowl thing that you put on your head and clung to the banister and walked down, and boy, what an amazing sight. I'm not certified, so I do snorkel. But I got out of that dive and I could not get out of that water. I told them they were gonna have to pull me out when they were ready to leave because it was so beautiful. It was then that I realized what Bill loved about scuba diving. The first time my youngest snorkeled was here on Catalina. She had one of those boogie boards with a clear circle so she could see what was in the water. Now she is an advanced scuba diver herself. She even dove with a group that Bill met here on Catalina when she was in Mexico recently. Thanks for coming. She and her brother were both inspired by Bill. Bill's goal was to dive every continent. His last dive trip he had scheduled before he got sick was to the Maldives. Hopefully Kevin, David, and Carol will live that dream for him. My daughter Leanne doesn't dive and she can't be here today, so I know she misses him too. Judy and I kayaked with Bill one visit. He kept trying to get us in the water, saying the only sharks around were nurse sharks. Remember that? And they wouldn't hurt us. But I've lived in the Southeast since I was 18, and I know how cold these waters are here. I wasn't getting in the cold, and I wasn't getting near any sharks. I've heard of the impacts Bill had on many of your lives. As a diver, an educator, a friend, an influencer. The comments on Facebook give comfort to Kevin, my sister, and me. Bill was always a humble man, but the awards he received over his lifetime meant a lot to him. He always wanted respect for what he did, something that took a while for him to get from our dad, who thought he should be a businessman, not a scientist. Not being a diver myself, I never really knew how famous Dr. Bill was in the scuba world until I was talking to a new friend about diving. I kept telling her that she should check out my brother online. She blew me off until as we were leaving each other, I mentioned that he was Dr. Bill. She had been following him on scuba board for years. When someone in our family dies, they come back as a butterfly. It's our way of knowing they're checking in on us. Gramps is a white butterfly, Nana's a yellow butterfly, Mom is an aqua green butterfly. Those can usually be found only in South America, and the closest she got to that was Grand Cayman Islands, but those were her favorite colors. We didn't ask Dad. He had dementia, so he might have told us a different color every time we asked him. I wish we had thought to ask Bill. I imagine he would be bright orange like the Garibaldi, or green like kelp, maybe red or orange like juvenile sea bass, or muddled green or brown like the more mature sea bass. He would probably correct me and say, "It's really a wreckfish, Nancy." So let's take a poll. I'm going to tell you the colors I just mentioned, and I want you to clap so we know what kind of butterfly Bill's going to be. But Mom's blue. But Mom's blue. Bill blue? Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, Judy wants a monarch. When he came out to Catalina from Harvard, he had never been here before. He compared it to Greece. It was his home for many, many years. He may never have had a wife, but he was married to Catalina. To the environment, to the community, to the divers, to the ecosystem. He never wanted to leave here. I remember our mom telling me that even though she worried about Bill diving by himself, if he died doing that, she knew he had died happily. Well, unfortunately, Bill suffered the last several years, but now I imagine him diving, educating, influencing other people, playing hearts with Gramps, dancing with Nana, arguing about politics with Dad, washing the dinner dishes for Mom, and maybe even winning the butterfly like he did as a boy. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Nancy. All right. Next up will be Nancy's daughter, Kara. And, I guess David's starting too now. Like me, I don't think we have anything written at least, so.
We're moving into a different generation, so we have a cell phone. Do I? I can't read it. Sorry, you guys get to see this now. To most of y'all, he was Dr. Bill, the scuba legend. But to me, he was just my funny Uncle Bill. My favorite one to call on holidays so I could hear about the adventures on the island. The one who did the best Daffy Duck impression. The one who may or may not have ruined Santa for me by videotaping my parents putting out all the gifts and letting me watch it after. My favorite uncle, no offense, Uncle Rick, I know you're here. We're not blood related. The best uncle. And not only that, but he's the one who introduced both me and David to the ocean. I was on a little big boogie board, as my mom mentioned, over in Lover's Cove on Catalina when I was 6 years old. Through his influence, my brother and I both became scuba certified when we were young. So it didn't get the sisters, but it got the niece and nephew. This has led me and David to meeting and diving with many of the wonderful people here. I can truly feel his influence in this community. As y'all have opened your arms, it made my family and I feel as loved and welcome here as my uncle always did. With that, I'll leave y'all with a few lessons I learned from my uncle. 1, screw society's expectations. Follow your passions, even if it leads you all the way to a little island off the coast of California. Don't be what he called a WWW, warm water wussy. Because sometimes pushing through the coldest water will lead to the best rewards. It's the experience and people that make up a full life, not material possessions, although he may have taken this a little too seriously if you ever saw his wetsuits. Be kind and open to everyone, except those that are going the wrong way on the dive part stairs. I love you and miss you so much, Uncle Bill. I hope you're enjoying the warm waters until we dive together again. Love you.
The next person up here is somebody that may or may not have been my dad's favorite student back in the day, but definitely became very important later in life, and over the last couple of years has been a huge part of my life too. And come on up, Dirk. I mean, you're family now too to me. Yeah.
lost one of those with Bill, but there's a replacement. We picked it up last night. Kevin and I got our shirts last night together. My wife said, "Why didn't you get that one?" I said, "Yeah, we'll trade them out. I'll get that one." Okay, here we go. I have to read this because if I tried to do this without, I would have lost myself here. My name is Turk, by the way. I may be uniquely able to share my long experience with Bill as a student, a member of the diving community, and as a friend. We met in 1975 as I was a student at Toyon. I met Bill back when he was known as Boo. Many of you know him as Dr. Bill, but he's always going to be Boo to me. Bill was my marine biology teacher, who was a natural educator, and shared his vast knowledge of the world around us with a wonderful, interactive, and hands-on approach. He was a brilliant scientist and a world-renowned kelp forest specialist. My favorite time with Bill at school is my nature observation class. We would take off into the interior of his 1942 Willys Jeep after lunch and spend the entire afternoon driving around, walking the hills, canyons, and beaches of Catalina. Watching buffaloes, or actually they're called bison now because unionized now, they're called bison and buffalo, but and the giant sea blaster wreck fish. It's very confusing. Okay? Drive around the afternoon at the beaches, watching buffaloes, walk around, mating, carrying on. The pigs and goats that ravaged the island then, cutting trails through grasses and chaparral, searching for near extinct bald eagles, rattleless rattlesnakes, etc. Plant ID, and sitting and watching spiders weave their webs and trap unsuspecting insects for hours at times. Patience and observation, that was Bill's thing. I credit this man with being the one who taught me to walk around with my eyes open and to seek to learn everything I can about the world around me. Underwater experience was similar, observation, patience, and questions. Sometimes, when he did let me dive with him, we got there sometimes go off the steps in about 15 feet of water, and we'd lay there watching an abalone, trying to teach the abalone how to eat the sargassum. The whole dive, sometimes right there. No one wanted to dive with Bill. He didn't want us to dive with him either, by the way. Bill went on after Toyon to start his own thing, Star Thrower educational program, his lecturing, and as many of you know, his popular Dive Drive with Bill series. He also found much joy in working with his friend, Jean-Michel Cousteau, in countless research endeavors on land and at sea. After school, I rarely saw Bill, except at our infrequent Catalina Island school reunion weekends. I used to compete in minor races here, and once went with Packy to Middle Ranch to visit Bill when he was working for the island company and lived at the ranch. I did not see him for years until one day I received a note from him. I'm not sure when this was, but I know it was soon after the loss of his beloved Sue Price. In the note, Bill said he was in hospital over town and trying to get help for his mental health condition. He was not doing well. He awoke one morning and saw my father, Garrett O'Connor, on TV being interviewed about mental health and medication. Bill had met my dad years earlier, as my dad was the visiting school psychiatrist at Toyon. Didn't do me very much good, but it helped a lot of other people. Seeing my dad on TV was a profound experience for Bill and a turning point for him in his struggles to find his way to cope with his mental health issues. I put him in touch with my dad, and Bill saw my dad as a patient for years. Bill helped a lot of people and talked about his mental health issues openly and with a lot of people. He used his own experience to share compassionately and empathetically with other people who struggled as he did. I love that about the guy, man. The note from Bill was a great thing for me as well, because I started to reconnect with Bill and visit more with him often here. Years later, as my son Aiden showed an interest in diving, I was drawn back into the water, and Bill was a huge part of this. It was about 12 years ago that Bill and I really reconnected. I got to meet his son, and now my very good friend Kevin. Love you, man, and love your family, brother. And dove with them whenever I could. When Bill started getting sick about 6 years ago, I made a commitment to return the love and kindness that he always shown to me. There were many hospital visits, care centers, trips to Avalon Hospital, trips over town, stays at our house when he was doing treatments and tests, emergency trips over town, etc. In between these, he would rally back and start diving and living a full life till the next phase slowed him up again. Last September, I was sitting in his place with him. He was not doing well. He looked at me, started crying, and said, "Who would have thought that you and I would end up here together now like this?" I told him that I was forever grateful and honored that he and I did end up together like this now. In early fall last year, Bill was going over town for chemo treatments. Matt and Chuck, thank you guys, would take him to the boat in Avalon. I would pick him up on the other side of Long Beach and take him to treatments, and then back to the boat. The last time I picked him up, I knew he was very ill. I called Kevin and Nancy and told them that I was quite sure they were going to admit him after chemo that day, and they did. He never did return to his beloved Catalina Island. Bill was moved from hospital to residential care after that, and we visited frequently. I brought him the wooden Toyon sign, now replaced, and propped it up on a chair where he could see it. He declined rapidly and was moved to hospice in December. Kevin, Nancy, Judy, Andrea, and Desi and I all visited and were offered to sit and laugh and cry as he began to drift away. My last and greatest memory was when we sat him up in bed, and he and I sat back to back on the bed. We leaned upon each other as true friends, and his strength was unbelievable, man. A few last words about my friend Bill. Bill hated new stuff. His computers, his dive gear, the topsiders he wore for 20 years, okay, those blue Custos wetsuits with no ass left in them, okay, worn out. His golf cart, that thing is ancient. He kept the differential gear from his last golf cart in the front dash of this one. Kevin, is it still there? You got rid of the differential gear? What if you need it? Kevin, man. Kevin, we gotta find that thing, man. Okay? Scuba police parked over here all the time. That was his spot. It was a true honor to be with family yesterday and spread my friend's ashes in the canyon and the waters where we met. His heart and soul will always be one with Toyon Bay, and now he will always be there. He is where he belongs. Thank you to Catalina Diver Supply and our friends Mark and Mike. Thank you guys, I love you guys. For the transport to Toyon today and for all that you guys have always done for my friend Bill. And thanks to Jeff Chase and CB for having us. Thank you also, guys. A lot of times when Bill was sick, I would come over here, I would video you guys, wishing him well, and I would take them to him, and I would show him those videos, and he would just connect to you guys. So thank you for that, too. Thank you all for being here today. Let's all in Bill's honor appreciate and love one another and walk around with our eyes open. So we'll go jump in the water after this, okay? For most of us anyway. Thank you, guys.
I do want to build off of one of the things that Turk had mentioned there, because he did reach out to me before we talked about this. I mean, as many of you know, my dad was very, very open on Facebook about everything with his battles. Many times you guys would find out about his treatments before even the family would. He would update it on Facebook first, and then email us, and then maybe call us or something like that. It bugged us many times while he was going through his things the way that we found out. But I have heard so many times since that it's helping other people go through so much and be open with their own issues, whether it be cancer like he was or other things. And as much as I hated that at the time, it was something looking back, it made an impact like what he always did with everything he did, making an impact. So that next, Mark, where did you, there, you changed it. Did you come in your sheet? I didn't see that. So we've gone from a student of his now to.
So I met Bill in 1977. I managed to get fired from my teaching job at UC Outlet Center and was delighted to find a job at Toyon, which was the job that Dr. Bill had left. So my relationship with him initially was as a mentor because he had incredible resources. Anybody that was his student knows that library was packed full of things that he had brought, research articles. The textbooks were just a magnificent choice of textbooks. And yes, he was absolutely brilliant and mentored me to speed. My field was marine ecology. I thought I really knew what I was doing, but I learned so much from Dr. Bill and was able to share some of it. The next year, I became a scuba instructor. But the thing the clearest, most magnificent memory I have of Bill, he of course was very close friends with Packy and another fellow named Cliff Burgess, and we would get together with Jack Tusey, who had just acquired this wonderful restaurant, which is still unchanged to this day. A wonderful Antonio's Pizza. We'd get together there, the five of us, and have Lambrusco wine and laugh and carry on. And that even happened, I think that was Packy's bachelor party there also, yeah. I mean, but Bill was a magnet for magnificent people. The summer at Toyon Bay, as Kirk said, Jean-Michel Cousteau, Sylvia Earle. I mean, just magnificent people in the marine ecology community were there at Toyon. Just magnificent. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with Dr. Bill, my friend, mentor, dive partner, and we'll dive again together one day.
All right. Did Susie make it here? Okay. Susie, we didn't get a chance to make her here. Come on up.
I just wanted to pay my respect to a gentleman that touched my heart when I first moved here to California. And he came to, I'm not family, friend. And when I first came to California, I remember him coming to a dive club meeting and being very passionate in his blue, holy kind of setup. And we dived the Yukon together. And he never complained about the cold water. He said it was good insulation, the way the water flowed in and out of all the holes. And he was just an amazing guy. He taught so many, and I'm an instructor, and I bring a lot of people to the dive park. He never once faltered when I came over and said, "Can I take a selfie? Can I have my students meet you?" And he would embrace the students. He would share his knowledge. He would tell me it's boa kelp. No, it's kelp or it's sargassum. But most of all, he really encouraged my students to really love the ocean. And he made them feel very important. He made so many people feel important. And so I don't know him very long. I've only known him for 12 years. But he impacted my life greatly. And I have great respect. And my heart goes out to family, friends. I have like 3,000 pictures of this guy somewhere, and I'm trying to put them all together on my Facebook feed, but he was an amazing person. He touched many people's hearts, and I just wanted to say that not only everybody greatly misses him, I'll greatly miss his little handicap placard over here with his book. I'm just reading today. Oh, and then how he'd get pissed off with, I'm sorry, how he would get angry at the snorkelers that would sit on the step, or people would sit there and he's trying to get in the water, or he's trying to get out of the water, and there's a whole mass of people there. And those are my memories of Dr. Bill. I have dove with him. He was very elusive blue whale, and he would call himself. I have a beautiful photograph of that in my memory. So I thank you guys for listening to me ramble, but I will miss Dr. Bill, and I think the dive park will miss him too. I'll miss him reading his book. I'll miss introducing him to new students. I just want to say how pleased I am that you let me share my feelings about your father. He was very special. Thank you so much.
While we're still remembering the impact that he had while he was with us, is there anybody else that wanted to get up right now? Oh, Chuck, did you want to speak to? Oh, of course. Sorry, Chuck, I didn't know you wanted to come up today.
I knew Bill since 1975. I knew this day would come, but I was hoping it wouldn't come for a long time. So I was not prepared. I was prepared, but at the same time, I wasn't. Bill was extremely close to the Offield family. Any Offields here? Well, I'm hoping they're going to see it when Laurel puts it out. He was extremely close to Packy, and I, of course, became very close to Packy, too, and his family, because I worked for the Iron Company. The one thing that nobody's mentioned, he also worked for the Conservancy, the Catalina Island Conservancy. He was the head of education. I think I can tell you now, he didn't want all the pigs and the goats killed in the way they were done. In fact, he tried to raise money to try to find at least a civil way to do it, and not by helicopter shooting them from the air. So that caused a major rift with him, with the Conservancy, with the Wrigley's. So I think I can tell it now. I'm going to tell you something that nobody, I think, knows but me. He had a thing for Candace Bergen. Anybody else know that? You did? Okay, everybody said, I never heard that. He had a thing for Candace Bergen. And I was in the entertainment business at one time, and he said, can't you introduce me to Candace Bergen? And I said, oh yeah, I'll just give her a call someday and say, let's come over to Catalina. I want you to meet Bill Bushin. But he had a thing for Candace Bergen. By the way, she's still alive. She's 76. So I think eventually he will meet Candace Bergen. So that's not a problem. He was living with me when he had his issues, when he had his mental issues. So I took care of him at the house. He never wanted to leave. It was just, he just needed to get over some issues, which I'm very happy to know that he not only overcame them, but he was even stronger because of it. And the fact that he had no concern about letting anybody know that, which helped me because I ended up getting some major mental issues in the last 10 years, and he was there for me. If you ever want to eat what he ate, I could describe his refrigerator, but you would not like to know what was in there. I explained to him that you didn't keep milk in the refrigerator until it became cottage cheese. I had to explain, I think I need to dump your milk out, because he kept things. Whenever we would go, we'd go out every week together to have dinner. Bill was frugal. He would never gone out if I hadn't paid. But I told him something back in the 70s. I said, Bill, you are doing me a favor because I don't like eating alone. So he took that. So I paid, but he was my company. The only trouble is he kept getting awards all the time. And I kept saying, Bill, do you want to be seen with me? Because you just got another award that he didn't know about. And I said, I'll start coming to Buffalo Nickel with a paper bag over my head so people don't know you're with me and not somebody more important. He said, that's okay, Chuck. You can, I'll eat with you. I don't think anybody else would have paid, so I think when Bill found out that he had cancer, it was actually
nobody but Bill would have been excited to have an appendix attack and realize his appendix was cancerous. Because he said, if I didn't have that, I never would have known what help I needed. So he was that positive. I mean, he had an appendix attack, appendicitis, but it was cancerous, which I'd never heard. I hope the family doesn't take umbrage with what I'm about to say, because Bill told me that when they realized that he might have to have chemo or just let it go, I pulled rank on him. I always called him my little brother because he was 3 weeks younger than I was. I said, Bill, for whatever it's worth, get the treatments. You now have a son, you have granddaughters, you have your family that cares about you. Stop being so stoic. If you need this to stick around for a while, my vote is do it. And he did. I'm not saying it was because of me. I'm sure the family voted for that too, but I never did find out how the family voted. So when I made sure that he got over to the mainland for turned out to be the last time, I would call him every Sunday to give him his mail reports. And it always started off with, okay, Chuck, what do you need now? It was just his way of getting. One time we found ourselves in the hospital at the same time for the same problem. We both had tubes down our nose, so we would visit each other in our rooms, carrying around our sepulcher, I called it, where you had to have all your bags and everything. Bill told me that this was his dream, was to come back to the island, have a lobster dinner, and go in the interior. Because toward the end, he was being fed by what he called a cow udder, and everything had to go. So that was our plan, and I was really encouraging him. I really didn't think he was, but we kept talking about that's exactly what we're going to do when you come back. When I knew that he was going to be on the mainland, I have to thank Matt. Matt took care of him when Bill first started getting the surgeries. Matt was there to make sure that he got the dressings changed, because they didn't want to sew him up because they were doing so many surgeries, so he literally had an opening the whole time. Matt would come over daily. I would come over every other day to make sure that he was taken care of, and Bill greatly appreciated that. When Packy died, which was horrible for all of us, I kind of moved into the place as his best friend. I needed a best friend. Bill needed a best friend. I never dove. I never once got into that park. So how I could be his best friend and never go into the water is beyond me. But he was very forgiving. He said, someday I'm going to teach you to scuba dive. But he never went with a partner. I said, aren't you supposed to partner dive? He said, I don't want to be with anybody. They'll just hold me back. I want to do my thing, and I said, Bill, that's not before you. He said, okay, So anyway, if you want to eat the way Bill ate, in restaurants, I would never say eat the way he ate at home. By the way, one thing he had that I couldn't understand, he never liked grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. I thought everybody loved that. He hated it. I said, you're sick. You're sick. Okay, we would always go down and he would get beef fajitas down in Buffalo Nickel. He always forgot to ask for extra flour tortillas because he knew that they charged for it. So I would always be the one to say yes and bring us more flour tortillas. He never wanted to make it on my bill to get extra, but he always complained they don't give me enough flour tortillas. You go to the lobster trap, you have to get the smoked tuna sandwich. That was what he always got. Bill and I spent every birthday together for at least the last 15 years. I had to have my 75th birthday alone. Now this is Bill's 75th, so I guess we are sharing it. I told Bill, we're going to make it. We're going to make 75. He
75th. Oh, look at that look on his face. Okay, we made it. You're just there, and I'm here. It's okay. Let me share some quick things, and then I'm done. You can tell I didn't write it because I can't write this stuff down. I'm now 75. I'm losing a lot of friends and family. In fact, last week, another friend of mine, I had her in service. So within the last 2 weeks, this is the second one that I have had. So it's been a little heavy for me. Please, please, please stay connected with your family and friends. Never let a grudge or anything negative ever come in your way. Because as you get older, memories are all you're really going to have. And you want to be able to share them with family and friends. So please never let any stupid argument or anything stand in your way, because they're going to be the most important people in your life. As your grandparents die, your parents die, and all you have are your siblings and friends. Cherish them greatly, because they are going to be the most important person in your life. Bill will always be my best friend. I'm too old to get another one. So I'm sorry, Bill. You're going to have to, in perpetuity, you're going to be my best friend. I know Bill is looking down and laughing. Oh, I'll tell you one last story, and then I used to love to bug Bill. He had a sense of humor, but he didn't use it too much. Okay, this building is very important to us because in 1979, Bill and I did the 50th anniversary of the casino, and we also did the first film festival. So Bill and I were acknowledged by the new film festival in 2019. We're sitting in the front row ready to go up to get some beautiful awards. And a young lady came up to us and she said, "You did that 40 years ago. You must have been wearing diapers at the time." So I thought that was sort of strange. So anyway, I went up to accept my award, and I said, "By the way, things turn around. What goes around comes around." I said, "Bill and I were not wearing diapers 40 years ago when we did the film festival, but I said we're wearing them now." They call them Depends. Bill, by the way, it's recorded. It's on Facebook, so you can see it. I'm not making this up. He just about knocked me over. He said, "You can't say that." I said, "Yes, I can, bro. I can. We're wearing Depends right now." So anyway, thank you all for coming. You represent so many parts of Bill's wonderful life. And I don't know what your belief system is, but Bill is having even a better life right now. When I got the call from Matt by way of heaven to say Bill died, I had a lobster dinner for him that night. I had never paid for a lobster dinner in any restaurant. I ate a lobster that night just out of respect. But anyway, I'm starting to feel my age. But what was I talking about?
Thank you for coming.
Huh?
Thank you for coming.
Well, yeah, but that was before the lobster dinner. I threw that in as a... Well, anyway. I know that Bill is looking down, smiling at us. He's in a place where he can now dive 24/7 with no problem at all. In fact, I don't think he even needs equipment. He'll probably free dive, which I know it wasn't into that. But Bill is in a better place. Oh, I know what it is. When Kevin contacted Matt and told me, Bill just passed away, my first response was, Bill is dead. And it was quickly changed to, Bill is free. He no longer has pain. He suffered so much toward the end. By the way, he never once complained about having cancer. Never once. He complained about the pain, but how can you help that? He never complained, why me? So anyway, I know I've carried on too much, but I'm going to have to sit down. But anyway, Bill, yep, you're looking down and you're smiling. We're having a great time at your expense. So thank you.
All right. Are you coming up? Okay, come on.
I'll make it really quick. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming out. Thank you to the family for sharing. Avalon's a home for characters, and Dr. Bill definitely found his home among us. And it's really nice to see his family come out and share the love that we had for him. And I had a poem put out today, but I actually have a recording of Dr. Bill. We worked on an audio project quite a few years ago, and I thought it might be kind of fun to share it. Is that something you guys would want to hear?
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bill, marine biologist and underwater videographer. I've been a resident of Catalina for 6 decades and dove scuba here for all of those. My research focus has been on kelp forest ecology, and Catalina is one of the best places in North America to see these unique habitats. The waters around Catalina Island have long been associated with conservation. Marine protected areas like this give snorkelers and divers an opportunity to experience the richness of our giant kelp forest ecosystems. The dive park was established in the 1960s, and it's dominated by giant kelp. When healthy, it forms a habitat similar to a terrestrial forest. It also creates a diverse ecosystem for our nearly 800 species that live in these amazing forests. One of the most vibrant residents is our state marine fish, the bright orange Garibaldi. Go ahead, look down into the water right now. Do you see them? They look like big orange goldfish. You'll find large schools of baitfish being chased by a hungry barracuda, or you may even see our giant sea bass, which can grow to the size of a large golf cart. There are even a few shipwrecks if you want to grab a tank and go explore. You can find out more about it on my website, starthrower.org. I'll hand you back over to Matt to take you back to town now. Enjoy the rest of your stay, and be sure to come back later if you want to explore the kelp forest for yourself. Thanks, Dr. Bill.
That was awesome.
Thank you,
Awesome.
guys. Thank you. I thought that'd be nice. And you know, Dr. Bill, I think he gives us all of us hope because when he was first diagnosed, they told him 5 months, and he kicked cancer's butt for 5 years. And he gave us a lot of good memories along the way. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you for supporting Dr. Bill, and thanks for being a special part of his life. I know he really appreciated each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Before we get to our speakers, is there anybody else that has anything else to say? Anybody? All right, well, Ken, come on up and talk about the things to come.
I'm Ken Curtis. It's nice to speak to all of you on a day when I'm not trying to get you to donate money for something. Although if you do want to donate to either, of course I have it, I'm sorry. I got to tell you, I'll go back a little before we go forward. I'm not sure when I first met Dr. Bill, but I do believe I knew him when that damn wetsuit was new. So, and one great thing that he and I did, you know, he and I were both fish geeks. And one time, right off the stairs there, I was kicking in and I saw this, I mean, little fish. It looks like it did not belong. I was able to shoot a couple of shots of it. And I sent it to Bill. I said, what is this? It sort of looked like a juvenile Garibaldi, but the coloration was all wrong. And he goes, ooh, I don't know. I'll dive tomorrow and I'll let you know. He goes back out, finds the fish, takes a couple of shots, and we finally decided it's what's known as it's a juvenile white-tailed damselfish, and they're not supposed to be found here. And so we got a hold of Dan Gottschall, who's the fish geek for the state of California, and confirmed what we thought. And it was good because the fish that we found, this is 200 miles north of their northernmost known boundary. So it was like a very cool discovery. And so for Bill and I as fish geeks, we were very excited about that kind of stuff. And the nice thing was that's the enthusiasm that he was able to bring to anybody there. When he'd be parked there, and if someone asked him a question, he'd be happy to answer and give you as much information as he could. And as Kevin said, going forward, I got to go visit with him in the hospital on December 8th, just a couple of weeks before he died. And one thing that he and I talked about at that time was the idea of legacy and what do you leave behind. And so we'd already, some of us had already talked about this, but to explain the politics to you, the city of Avalon and the Island Company control the land and everything down to the edge of the water. So, there's been the idea floated, rename the park, the Bill Bushing Park. We also realized that when you start at the water and go out to the markers, that's controlled by the state of California. And this is an officially designated marine protected area, officially known as the Casino Point State Marine Conservation Area. So we decided that might be a more fitting and doable route to go. And we had put in a petition with the California Fish and Game Commission to rename the marine protected area the Dr. Bill Bushing State Marine Conservation Area at Casino Point. The petition was accepted by Fish and Game, and on this Thursday, they will vote on it. We only need 3 votes. Maybe that raising money thing. No, I can't bribe them. But I did want to let you know that this meeting actually will be in Los Angeles, but it is also available to you virtually. As part of our petition, we have a number of you submitted comments to change.org, which we were able to take those and incorporate them into the petition, and we led off with a nice letter from Jean-Michel Cousteau supporting the effort. So fingers are crossed. If you go on Google and just Google California Fish and Game Commission and go to meetings, it will take you to the various links. You can watch virtually. I believe, but I won't swear to it, that you will be able to make a comment virtually. That might be an option for you. And again, it's something you might want to check out Thursday afternoon. I don't know what time it will be. We are the 8th item on an 11 agenda, number 8 out of 11. So it could be any time. I'm a diver, as some of you know, at the aquarium in the Pacific. I have to be diving there, but I'm going to try to schedule between dives that hopefully I can sneak on in and get a comment in. But again, if you're aware of it, then go ahead and watch that. Keep your fingers crossed that we get 3 votes, and that from Thursday on forward, that we'll be able to refer to the water area as the Dr. Bill Bushing State Marine Conservation Area at Casino Point. Thank you very much.
I definitely want to say thank you to Ken again. He's been heading up everything on that effort. I've kind of taken a backseat to that because I wanted it to be all community driven, which, as we all know, there's tons of support. But in closing here, unless anybody else has a surprise, want to get up, I just want to say, in memory of my dad and how he lived life the way that he wanted it to live, no matter what anybody else said. He enjoyed things his way. Go out there and honor him that way, and it may not be the most financially rewarding, it may not be a lifestyle that makes sense even to your sister, but go out and do what makes you happy and enjoy things. So thank you for everybody for coming out and honoring him, and for those of you that can and want to, we're getting in the water after this. Hopefully wind dies down a little bit, at least for when we get out and we're not crazy. But
Good if you could, it'll make clean up there. Take your chair, fold it up, stack them here. It'll just make it easier for later on. That would be lovely.